A few weeks ago, I got grumpy while playing Destiny 2, and I took to my audio recording software and I ranted and raged for about 10 minutes and then posted that video. That video did a lot better than I expected, and I feel that I should probably double down on what I was trying to say and get my point across a little bit more clearly. Destiny 2's Lightfall is out tomorrow. I have taken time off work. I'm really excited to jump into it. And I'm taking today, with Destiny servers being down, to think about what the year of Witch Queen was like and consider, was it worth it? Now, with the game being down, I don't actually have any footage, so I'm going to put some trailers and some gameplay footage in the background here. However, if you're anything like me, you probably just have this on a second monitor while you're playing Sons of the Forest or Hogwarts Legacy, so it's not the end of the world. Just before Witch Queen came out, Bungie did a Vidoc where I still remember to this day, one of their lead devs said, "Our team is firing on all cylinders." And on paper, I think that's absolutely accurate. We had a new campaign with a new legendary difficulty and a new world to explore, a new raid and a returning raid, 4 seasons, 2 new dungeons, 2 new strikes, 8 exotic weapons, 6 exotic armor pieces, 2 exotic weapons, 2 exotic missions, a whole new crafting system, a total overhaul of all 3 subclasses, and I think 1 or 2 Crucible maps. So yes, on paper, I think they did a really good job. It looks like their team is firing on all cylinders, 100%. However, when you play the game and experience it over the entire year, it doesn't feel that way at all. And looking back, you can see the major plot holes and the issues with what happened throughout the year. I think about the perfect example being in the seasons. Season of the Risen came out alongside the Witch Queen, and to be perfectly honest, it's totally forgettable. Not a lot happened. We had to hunt down those aspects of Savathûn. It was very clearly a place for them to test out what Arc 3.0 would look like. When you picked up those synaptic spears, you got all the things that we can now see playing out in Arc 3.0, the speed and the damage increase, etc. But beyond that, the story had very little bearing because we were all far more focused on the new throne world, leveling up Finch to upgrade our deep sight, and to finish off the legendary campaign. Season of the Haunted was no better in my experience as well. They stealth released it with no information on what was coming up. We went straight back into it. We got excited with the returning location of the Leviathan ship now being totally infested. But the activity was a total grind. The 7 missions we got to do were really exciting, and each one weekly added to the story and personally developed each character in the game, which was really awesome. Seeing Keitel, seeing Crow, seeing Zavala, dealing with their issues was utterly fantastic. But the Nightmare Containment mode was one of the most tedious things I've ever had to do. The time you had to spend getting through each wave of those was exceptionally too long. By the time I finished the seasonal challenge to get the seal and play the 50 Nightmare Containments, I think I would have spent about 50 hours doing that. It was far too long. Along with Season of the Haunted, we also got the Solar 3.0. And with that, we also got to dive into the Duality dungeon, which was really amazing. But let's not forget, Bungie charged us to get into the dungeon. Something that used to come for free is now being charged extra. I don't mind, I paid for it. Dungeons are my favourite thing in the game to do. However, I can see massive issues there. Bungie is consistently separating out their content and charging us additionally for each part of it. Another sort of odd decision that Bungie made for Season of the Haunted is in that story missions we actually got to see how Callus ended up joining the Witness. And looking back at it, it does seem kind of odd. This was the second season at the midway point of the year, building up and hyping up the big bad guy of Lightfall. It's surprising to me that Season of Seraph and Season of Haunting weren't swapped around on their release dates. After Season of the Haunted, we had Season of Plunder, which is where I think myself definitely, and from what I've seen online, it looks like everybody else hit their biggest Destiny burnout during this season. The challenge to get the seal was utterly ridiculous. The mode to kill the ruffians in that escort mission, which was effectively just a patrol mission anyway, we then had to slow it down to ensure the timer got to a specific point that another ruffian would be killed, and you had to kill it or tag it at the very least before it got killed so you can get it. Max I think you could get per run was about 2 ruffians, and it was tedious and slow, and even Bungie at that point realized that they had made a mistake. They walked that back in the last couple of weeks of Season of Plunder, which I liked because at that point I hadn't finished it. But the real issue there that we have to talk about is the fact that they spent weeks and weeks and weeks making players grind for this, and those who actually achieved it got no recognition, got nothing extra. They should have. They were cheated. Finally, we have Season of Seraph, which has this new battlegrounds. It also came with another new dungeon, which I really enjoyed. Again, you get charged for it if you want to go in. The season was... it's okay, if I'm honest. It's okay. The dungeon was the highlight of it. It was clean, it was simple. They came up with a new mechanic that was made clear in the first encounter and then built on. It wasn't too hard. The challenge was surviving overall. The challenge was actually real. And that's great. This year, we also had 2 new exotic missions with Vox Machina and Seraph's Shield. Going backwards, Seraph's Shield was pretty good overall. It was a decent challenge, it had some great puzzles, and then through the seasonal story, we got upgrades to make it easier to play, which I really liked. I actually thought the story played out really well. I thought the challenge of it was really good, minus those frickin' turrets, but overall it was really fun. Looking at Vox Machina, that was a mess. That was a perfect example into the debate where Bungie adds false challenge. Just like the champions in the game, I thought the Vox Machina was a perfect example of false challenge. The only reason I couldn't play the master version of Vox Machina was because of the timer that they put on the first section of the game. The challenge wasn't hard. The idea of the mission wasn't difficult. Kill the guy, easy enough. Destroy the tanks, easy enough. But they put a 5-minute timer to get through 2 major encounters that was just too difficult to get through. I tried it once, I failed, I never went back. And that's a huge issue, and something that needs to be addressed in future content. The champions, I think we deal with them at this point, but we're not happy about them. They are artificial challenge being put into Destiny, where they can't add more challenge because they're not thinking of new ideas. Look at the raid as well. The raid was fantastic, albeit with a very, very long intro that wasn't really required. However, the challenge in that was really in the symbols. There is a ridiculous level of symbols that you had to learn, and on day 1 against challenge mode as well, it was too much. I think Bungie went overkill with that, adding in again artificial challenge where you have to know these symbols and understand what each and every one of them means per encounter. You pare that back just a little, the challenge is still there, but it is only made harder by the sheer number of symbols that are added. One thing that I will say Bungie absolutely nailed with the raid was the addition of the preservation mission. That was a piece of the very beginning of the raid that you could play solo or up to 3 other players with you, and you got to practice and experience the mechanics, and at the end of it, if you did it weekly, you got a pinnacle drop as well. I think that was a fantastic idea and something they should embrace doing more often, because it gave people who might be a bit nervous about raids myself, a really good opportunity to get involved with it and sort of see what it's like. A great way to build on that will be if they break up different sections of the raid so you can experience all of it and it's not just playing the same opening section over and over and over again. The big thing that I don't understand about Destiny and the way that Bungie operates is this whole concept of taking content away. We want to play your game. I understand the idea around making a game that's a live service, but I don't understand why you want to take more content out than you're putting in. I think a great example is with our seasonal mods. Season of Haunting gave us classy restoration. and Season of Seraph gave us Weekend Clear. These are two really amazing mods that genuinely changed the meta, and people were playing differently because of them. Weekend Clear was the first time that I ever sat down and went, yep, Witherhoard is going to be my main. And now I'm going to take this Classy Restoration and I'm going to take Weekend Clear in the later season into attempting my solo runs of dungeons. Bungie gave me an opportunity to attack higher difficulty endgame content that I never would have attempted otherwise, and now those are gone. They take them away at the end of the season. And that's the thing that really blows my mind. Why not keep it in? I know there's a lot you have to consider with that, and I am definitely not the expert in game balance and wouldn't be able to figure out how you could make that all work. However, not every single player is going to be running Weekend Clear, and not every single player is going to be running Classy Restoration. What you're doing is just giving us more build crafting opportunities. For once, I would get home from work and I would sit down and get really excited to attempt a 2-hour run of Duality because I had Classy Restoration and it gave me an opportunity. Maybe after this I would attempt Prophecy or Pit of Heresy. But now those are gone, and now I don't want to play them. I don't want to attempt them because the advantage that I had is now gone. Bungie, you gave me a reason to want to play your content, and then you took it away. Turning to the Crucible and the Gambit side of the game, Crucible may have gotten a couple of maps, but not enough. I'm not even a PvP player, but I can tell you, they need more. I look at Gambit, they haven't had a single map since the game mode even came out. But the devs are here telling me that they're firing on all cylinders. At the same time, they're releasing the seasonal events like Guardian Games, Festival of the Lost, etc. And they're just repeats of the same content that we saw last year, and the year before it, and the year before it. Maybe with one new extra map, but it's the same event, and it's a bigger grind because now you've added seals behind it as well. And you bet they added more cosmetics and more ways for us to spend money. The devs even added in a little bit of a joke at one point where Telesto acted out and we got a new emblem, etc. It was cute and a nice little play on the fact that we all know that Telesto has broken the game more times than a Titan can eat crayons. But the problem was that this big joke that they made it seem like they were building into creating another puzzle quest, which they have done before and went over so well, and it ended up just being a massive disappointment when even Bungie had to come out and say, hey, stop trying to explore this, there's nothing more. Is that firing on all cylinders? The last point that I really want to talk about, and I think it's a really big discussion, is around Raid Day release and the move that Bungie has made, taking it away from releasing on a weekend day to releasing on a work day. And I think it's very valid what they're going for, that point of view that their staff have to work hours as well. Coming in and dealing with all of this on a weekend is a huge pressure that would be put on their team. Look at Valve the Disciple, it had massive issues day one. Constantly teams were being booted out due to bugs. However, you're the ones releasing it. We, the gamers, actually really appreciated that you were releasing this on a weekend because we can't get time off work as easily as you can. Your staff are actually releasing the game. If you have staff who are going to be working on it over the weekend, give them a day off during the week. Give them overtime. It's going to be far less intense for you to have some staff working on the weekend than it is for the entire Destiny community to somehow get time off work. Not everybody will be able to engage. And then because of this, you're changing the day one challenge mode to, 2-3 days now? It kind of ruins the spirit of challenge mode and day one completions. I think there are a lot of different options that we can talk about. Again, I'm not saying I'm the guy who can fix the issues, but I'm just giving other options or ideas to ways that you could fix this. Despite all of that, Witch Queen was a fantastic year overall. The content that they released was fun, albeit very, very grindy. I think their team was firing on all cylinders. I just think it may have been in the wrong direction. And we need to talk about these things so that Bungie can start to turn themselves in the right direction and make their game go from really good to really great. Because that's the thing. I'm talking about this stuff because I love this game. I love playing it. I love the friendships I've made with it. I love the clan I've joined. I love the content that I do get to engage with. I just wish there was more, and I wish it was executed better at certain times. There's nothing better than getting angry at this stuff so we can talk about it and then get it fixed to, like I say, to make the game go from being really good to being really, really great. And if Bungie is watching, I do just want to leave them with one final thought. Fix the new light experience! Anyway, that's it. I'd like to know your thoughts, and would love to have a conversation with you in the comments. For those of you who like the other type of content that I do with the highlight reels and things, that will be coming. We're getting up at 6 AM New Zealand time in the morning to start Lightfall as soon as it drops, and there will be a video coming out about that very, very soon, so keep your eyes and ears out for that one. I hope you enjoyed. I hope to hear from you in the comments. Take care. Bye-bye.